We've cut, welded, and shaped this boat into existence. And now it's time to tackle some of the hardware, the soul of her power. Yep, the sailing hardware. This is how it all started a few months ago, with a rough plan, quite a bit of brainstorming, and a whole lot of motivation.
Business on the front, party on the back.
As we mentioned back then, our goal was to have all the lines leading to the forward cockpit with the least number of winches possible.
I've seen a lot of boats where you have to go up to the mast to reef the sail.
Yep.
You might have to go to the back to trim a winch for like a spinnaker sheet or something like that. And we're trying to all get everything consolidated to the front.
So we got to work, shaping, welding, and cutting the bases for all the sailing hardware. It looked promising, didn't it? But since then, it's just been sitting there, untouched, until today. And now we're back at it, diving into one of the final phases before the mast, stays, sails, and everything else in between can go on the deck. We can test and adjust just as much as we want, but the truth is, we won't really know how it all works until we splash. This is what makes this stage both challenging and time-consuming, but I feel ready to take it on and share every step of the way with you. So, I hope you enjoy.
We're back at it right away. And yeah, it's super cool to be back. The weather is so much cooler, and just to see all the progress that's happened on the boat while we're gone is amazing. And our first big push now that we're back is to prepare for the installation inside. And we've gotten asked a lot of questions about when we're gonna do the insulation. How come you haven't insulated it yet? How come you're putting on like liners and interior stuff before it's insulated? Well, the reason is because we're welding as much as possible. And so all of the mounts for the inside, like the liners and the panels and everything, is welded onto the boat. And so we can't really put the insulation on until all that is done. And your next question might be, well, how are you going to then insulate it if the liners are on? Well, the answer to that is, I wanted all the liners to be removable. And so every panel, every liner inside is done with fast mounts on aluminum tracks that are welded to the hull. So basically, all that work is done, everything is aligned, then we pull all the panels off, pop them all off. They all go to the upholstery shop to be put on the foam back vinyl, and then we insulate after that. So it's a little bit more labor to do it that way, but I think it's gonna pay off for us. And so the next big part of that is, because we have to finish all the welding, what I'm focusing on when we first get back is installing all the sailing hardware. So there's been some pretty amazing progress made. This, I don't know if you remember, but we started with this part of the project before we left.
Well, like I said, this all started a few months ago when we first began planning on how to install the sailing hardware. We came up with a basic idea for how we wanted the sails to work, a bit different from what we had on Delos 1. As you can see, it was a little tricky, and we had to make a lot of adjustments, especially for the placement of all the blocks and tracks. But now that the base for everything is done, it's time to start putting all the pieces together.
And Dad did this fantastic job of embedding these channels into the eyebrows, and now I get to show you kind of how this is all working out. So probably one of the first things you'll notice is that this is the track for the jib car. Selden track, it's a 42 millimeter track, and instead of like, some people I've seen, they literally just drill holes in the deck, and then the bolt goes all the way through, and then you put a nut on the other side. I didn't really want to do that, because then look how many holes there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, there's like dozens and dozens of holes, right? Which are all opportunities for leaks. So instead of doing that, here's what we did. We welded on this plate. And so this is, I think this is 8 mil plate, and this is an 8 mil doubler. So we've got a total of 16 millimeters of material to work with here. Yeah. These are M10s. And so for M10, you should have conservatively like 1.5 the diameter of the bolts tapped. And so we blind tap these. So we drill the holes in We blind tapped it. Should we wait for this thing to go by? Fuck.
What is it?
It's the travel lift.
Oh,
Okay, we're back.
okay. We're back without the
Sometimes
crazy
it's really difficult to film in the yard because it's a working yard, obviously. There's a lot of banging and machinery and drilling and hammering. Okay, so where were we? We were talking about the track. So instead of drilling dozens of holes and having opportunities for the water to leak, we've put on this doubler plate, which gives us the ability to blind tap it. So we drilled down through this plate and halfway through the doubler plate underneath it.
Yeah.
So I think we've gone 14 mil down, or maybe 10 mil. I can't remember, one of those two. And then we've blind tapped it, so we have a very strong surface to mount this to with no ability for water to get in. So that's good. So this is the Selden track. Here's the Selden car. It has a 2-to-1 purchase on it for the control line. And so what I'm doing right now is just trying to get everything set up in a line so that we can tack and weld the doubler plates on for the turning blocks and all that stuff. And these guys. I don't want to put winches all over the boat. Like the easiest thing would just be to stick a winch back here, right? But then like the whole concept of this boat is making it easy to sail from the forward cockpit. So we need to find a way to bring the jib sheets up to the forward cockpit. So we basically come from this car, which I have in the worst possible position, which is all the way back, to make sure that I have a good lead on this very nice Rutgerson turning block. I've got it temporarily tapped in place so I can follow my lines, and then you can see as I put tension on this, it has an acceptable angle, and if I move this forward, the angle only improves. Okay. So that's kind of the worst place angle. This runs forward, and then to get it down to the forward cockpit was all the work that we started a few months ago. So this actually turned out beautifully. Dan finished this off super nice. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, looks so nice.
So what the trick is to get these two lines to run. This is the control line for the jib car. This is the worst case size for a jib sheet, which is 16 mil. I think we can get along well with 14 or maybe 12 mil, but I figure if we can get 16 mil to run without chafing, then the other ones will be fine. So I've been working on building this plate. This box has been finished right here. So this is the recess box for these are the Rutgerson rooftop blocks.
Yep.
And what's going to happen is this assembly I've made so that we can bolt these two blocks to it, and then we're going to use studs welded into the bottom of this pan, and then we're going to drill holes here.
So that will be in there.
So this sets in here like that with bolts, welded aluminum studs coming out of the roof. So once again, we have no holes in there. It'll make sense after we do it.
Yeah.
And then I'm positioning these blocks to make sure that I have a good clean line. And in order to position them, you have to actually put tension on them because, you know, the line flopping around like this doesn't do any good. So basically what I do put tension on that, and I make sure that we're able to get down through here, and I want space on the bottom, I want space on the top, and I want space on the sides, right? So I'm just positioning these blocks in the right place. It's taking a little bit of time, but once I get one going, then the rest are just repeating.
Yeah. What happens when the line comes down there?
So it'll be the same thing. So down here we have the reverse, so you can see this is the top block, that's the bottom block. So these go down here. So I've got to do the same thing down here. It'll go through this block, and I have to position this so that it leads through the exit without chafing.
Yeah.
And then there'll be two of these here, and then we have another turning block right here that then takes the, look at this guy. He's back.
To to the back winches that are all
Yeah,
going to
so
be
we have
here.
another rooftop block here, another turning block, and then it'll head that way to a rope clutch and the winch.
Okay.
And look at what Dan the man's working on.
This mess.
Look at this beautiful work of art.
Look at this mess.
So work gets done, Dan.
Wow.
Also, we have seats,
I know.
we have steps, we have handholds,
Great.
and we're working on the main sheet winch. So this is kind of like the grinding pedestal that'll be for the main sheet.
So you're going to have one winch there and then one on each side or two on each side?
I'm gonna try and see if we can do it with one winch here and one on either side.
Okay.
Because we're having powered furlers, so we won't need as many winches. But this, yeah, show them how that sits on the Dan.
Go through there. Go on.
Yeah, so you had to reinforce this a lot too, right?
Yeah,
Do you-
just to seal it as well.
The original design called for a solid bar from the bottom of this to here, so like that. But if you do that, then you can't have an electric winch. And I wanted an electric winch, so instead of having that bar in there, Dan's built this very beautiful piece that, with the bottom and everything, that seals off the electric motor from the elements and also strengthens this piece. Even though this is pretty thick, this is like
16 mil.
16 mil plate, so
Yeah.
Nearly as thick as me.
That's a who's that? I never know.
Goes on the bottom.
Oh, like a little bottom plate.
where's the pretty winchy part? Is it in the box?
Is this the biggest one or are we going to have different?
Yeah, this is the biggest one. The gearing part. These winches are from also from Selden. They look great. They look to be amazing quality. I think they're going to work out really nicely for us. And the electronic control system for all the winches kind of talks together.
Bit greasy.
Yeah. So that goes on there like that.
Wow.
So we'll have two size 66 or one size 66 winch is the primary winch here, and then we'll have two size 60s on either side. And if we feel that that's not enough, we also have room to add two more. But after the other cat I sailed on in Annapolis, they had a very similar arrangement with 3 winches and with the right setup of the turning blocks and the rope clutches. They didn't even have powered furlers. And so I think with powered furlers, we're even going to be one step ahead of that setup.
So how come when I came on Delos 1, you didn't let me use the electric winch?
That's the greenhorn way. Newbies get to grind at the very end. Dan's like, well, how come you just push the button? I'm like, I've earned it, Dan. You have to earn that button.
Red hot.
Anyway, this is looking out really nice, man.
Yeah, that's great.
Super happy with that. Do you want to come take a look at my little project up here?
Let's do it.
With so many projects happening at once, coordination is everything. We need to plan and time each step exactly. And I need to work closely with Dan to really understand the process and make sure we nail every step.
There'll be another turning block here,
Yeah.
and then it'll shoot off that way.
Yeah.
And then we need to place the rope clutches. That's why I'm a little hesitant to place the winch now, because I want to make sure that while we get this and then we get the turning block, we see the angle of those sheets and then the placement of the clutch, the rope clutch.
Yeah.
And then we put the winch based on that, right?
Yeah. So with the roof panels, if we can get Michael to come this week, are you happy to wait, or do you want us to rip that off now? Like get the other side all set, get
I
that
think
set?
as long as we can get this all set, like we can weld those studs in whenever.
Well, yeah, because all the panels will be out next week.
Yeah,
and we
there's no
can
use to
then.
do it twice.
Yeah, because if we pull it out, we've got to put it back in.
So yeah, I mean, I think I'm sort of capable of doing this. I mean, I've
Are
already
you
got,
putting that onto another compensating plate?
I think so.
Yep.
So with Dan's help, we double checked all the measurements, and with more confidence than not, we continued to move forward, refining as we go. I suspect we'll need to make some tweaks and changes, but that's all part of the challenge of building a completely custom boat like Delos 2. Eventually, we'll get there.
Does look like it's running in a little bit, mate. You reckon it needs to come out this way a bit?
Yeah, just a touch.
Yep.
Is it all the way back to that previous cat?
Yeah, it's back on there now.
Yeah.
Just gotta tighten it up and see.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put a little bit of a load on it. So now you can see that lead, how it goes back. Looks like we need to tweak the block a little bit.
That's clear there.
Looks like it needs to run a tiny bit like this, which we probably can't do until I shave the edges off that plate, right? Sort of like that. So if we did it there and maybe like up a little bit.
Yeah, you'll get 10 mil under that and still have clearance.
Yeah, so maybe not a 16 mil plate, but a
10 or 12.
will a 10 have enough meat on it for those countersunk M12s?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
You gotta check all of this and then you kind of just like position things. Like what's the process here?
Yeah, the process is just sort of figuring out as we go. I mean, we have a general deck layout, but it's not super specific on the actual location, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, I might have chosen different blocks than the designer recommended and everything, so yeah, it's just a matter of working from one end to the next. And I've chosen to start at the top from the jib car and then work my way back this way, as opposed to starting at the winch.
And what is important?
To me, it's important that we don't have any chafe on anything, right? So that we can run all the lines through the turning blocks, through the eyebrow, and make a turn here to the winch without it rubbing on anything. Because, you know, these guys are going to be under incredible load. And even if, you know, you hit a wave and the sail moves a little bit, the sheet moves a little bit, and over time it just chafes through. There's also going to be a little bit more friction in this system. So, you know, normally like on Delos, we go from the sheet, it goes to one turning block and then to the winch. So here we're going to have 2 blocks. So it's twice the friction.
Yeah.
But we have big winches, so I think it'll be all right.
And you were saying like a small adjustment in like where this one was positioned.
Yeah, so let me show you that.
Like a centimeter made like.
So for example, I've got the bottom block on here, right?
Yeah.
I've got it tensioned up, so when I push it down, if I'm here, you can see how it's rubbing right there.
It's like sitting on the top. Yeah.
Exactly. Now watch what happens as I move this back. I'm moving it back from just like from here. I'm just moving it forward to like here. Now look, now it's on the bottom. Right? So now I need to go somewhere in the middle of those two, like maybe right there. How's that look?
Kind of a little bit too.
Maybe right there.
Yeah. There.
So now we can see that we're sort of floating. That looks good right there,
Yeah.
honestly. It's like maybe 30 mils off of this,
Yeah.
which is nice because this is the built-in doubler plate anyway. So
Okay.
that's what it is, a matter of like getting one end set, coming and tweaking the next end and working my way back. It's fun. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Maybe there. But then we also have to make sure that we have clearance, right? So when the car moves forward, I can't have this too close.
Yeah.
Otherwise the car will hit the block, right?
How will you be able to move the car? Is that from?
This line will pull it forward.
Oh, okay.
So this is a 2-to-1. So this line actually, it attaches here.
Yeah.
It goes through this
So
block.
that smaller line
Around
is
this,
basically
this is the control line.
control line for the.
And we don't have one for moving it back. But if you ease this line, the control line, and then you tighten the jib sheet, it's naturally going to pull it back, right? Like that. It's only this that pulls it forward because that's you know, the jib sheet angle is like this. So it's
Yeah.
always trying to push the car back.
It's gonna be a lot of load on that, no?
On this, it's,
no.
yeah, it's 2 to 1. It's 10 mil line.
Yeah.
All right, we're making pretty good progress. I'm happy with how it turned out. Everything looks like we're getting it run nice and clean. What do you think, Bill?
Looks professional.
Looks professional?
Looks like someone knew what they were doing.
Oh. Like a couple of sailors with some sea miles?
Maybe.
So these are leading nice and straight down there. Coming into the top block. We've got good clearance there. I've still got to mount this part, so we just tweak it a little bit to get these lines centered. That's good. And now we're working our way back to this part. So now what the plan is we've got these, the bottom set of blocks, and we've got to position those and like push them down. We'll find the right position, like right about there, to get them to lead through there. That's the next.
That's cool. That's fun.
That's the next challenge. And then after we get those set, we can position the other 2 turning blocks here. And then we can work on our rope clutch, and then we can see where our winches are gonna go. That's fun.
This is the fun part.
Fun.
I think this is fun.
That's fun.
Well, that's something for next episode, and we're missing one important step in between. Before I can get there, I need to measure, cut, and grind the support plates for the blocks, making sure they sit at the perfect height to avoid chafing and let the lines run smoothly right through them.
Making pretty good progress on mounting all the sailing hardware to the deck, and I'm at the stage where I'm going to start fabricating a couple of the base plates to mount the Rutgerson rooftop and bottom blocks too. So I've got a couple of steps. I got to locate some scrap, which I did out of the pile. I've got to measure it, cut it to size, fit the blocks on top, drill the holes, countersink them, put the bolts in. So there's quite a few steps to it, but I've got all the tools out, and yeah, that's what I'm going to do this afternoon.
It's always exciting to bring your own ideas to life. If you've probably seen by now, there's been a lot of adjusting and creating since the very beginning. But as challenging as it gets, it's incredibly rewarding to see something come to life. Hours upon hours of planning and thinking finally come to life and turn out just as cool as you imagined.
Yeah, so these turned out pretty good. These are the mounts for the rooftop blocks. So it's cool because this will allow us to, with this method, we can weld studs through the roof now for these holes. And then that will go on top, and then we'll put 12 mil nuts like this. And then if I ever need to change these, you can undo the nuts, pull it off of the studs, and then take these out. So it's been a bit of work, but I'm halfway done. So this is for the top blocks, and now I'm about ready to start on the ones for the bottom blocks, which should be, now that I've figured out a design, it should be a little bit simpler and quicker.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
A lot of drill press time for me.
Yeah.
All right, back at it.
Another productive day in the yard, the kind that ends with an ice-cold beer. But before that, we thought it'd be a good time to pick up right where we left off with the Q&A from last week's episode. We've still got a bunch of questions to get through. So ready? Here goes the first one. Trevor Morris, I think a fun idea for a video would be to show all the little things you've carried on Delos and whether or not you're going to carry them on Delos too. For example, besides the ditch care and spare parts, is there anything you've carried all these years that you've never used and still think you'll keep carrying it?
I don't think there's anything
that you haven't used.
The only thing I could think of was like spare parts.
I mean, there's so much stuff in the medical kit that we've carried and haven't used, but that's the whole reason why it's there, because if it wasn't there, you'd definitely need it.
Yeah, I would say the medical kit.
Why don't we flip that question around and say, what is stuff that you've had on Delos, 2 little tiny things that you would definitely carry? One I saw today, the portable depth sounder. I love that thing. We use it all the time. The little yellow one that you can stick anywhere in the water and see how deep it is.
That one is really good.
Yep.
But there's not a lot of things. I mean,
My stills?
to try to answer his question.
Definitely carry my stills.
Yeah. Those we use sometimes. But there's not a lot on Delos that we like have carried all these years that we haven't used.
I think if we don't use it, we get rid of it.
Yeah, it's almost like it's spare parts that has been good that we haven't been able to use, and then medical stuff that we haven't used. But everything else, it's like definitely been used. Maybe some of our costumes, like our pirate costumes, we only use those once
That's
in
our
like
problem.
6 months.
We need to use.
We should dress up as pirates more.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, Scott Wise, I'm wondering where Delos 2.0 is at this point. We haven't seen her latest build condition in a little while. We're about to. That's coming up.
Yeah.
I mean,
we maybe we should do like, maybe not today, Scott, because there's a lot of questions to go through and it's getting pretty late, but yes.
we should do another walk around.
Yes.
We haven't done one of those since we've been back,
Yeah.
so shame on us. We will do that
Thank
and
you,
let
Scott.
you know.
We will definitely, there's a lot of things that have happened, like installation and a
Okay,
lot.
this is one of the most popular ones. Asked by Michael, Evan Ha, Michael Wilkie, Scott Wise, SV Trippin, Courtney, Robert Palumbo, Elaine McCarroll, all asked, what is your estimated completion and splash dates? Oh,
When it will be
it's probably
done.
the most common and the most popular question, and the one that I
know.
hate to answer because I always want to say like, well, it'll be done when it's done, but that's not realistic. It's more like we have an idea, goals. Like I would like to be doing sea trials by the middle of next year. I think that's a perfectly reasonable goal, to at least be out there trying the propulsion system, like getting the sails up, seeing what works, tweaking things, doing a little bit of a shakedown.
Yeah. Because there's quite a few things, like we're gonna have to sail it a little bit before a certain final things happen, because in case we do need to do tweaks.
I mean, nobody's
it
ever
makes sense.
sailed one of these boats, so we have an idea of where we think the sailing hardware and the placement of all the blocks and everything should be. And I'm pretty sure it's good, but I want to get the sails up, run upwind, run downwind, go through a couple of tacks and jibes, like do all this stuff, and then we'll be like, okay, we'll have more confidence now.
So I think in a couple of months is a reasonable goal.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to work hard.
Even harder?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like no breaks.
Okay, let's see. Amy Schroeder. Hey guys, when do you think you'll be launching the keel, or will the majority of the work be done on the hard? I think we just answered that question.
Yeah, I mean, we will
Maybe just-
definitely splash her and do some trials, and it's not like it's completed here on the hard and then we just leave and go sailing.
I mean,
like, that's
I think
not possible.
it might be feasible when I get the propulsion system sort of finished off to put her in the water, see how she floats on her lines, test some of those systems, test some of the plumbing, and then pull her back out, put her back in the shed, like do it without the mast and the rig and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And then-
that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah. James Anderson, will Dan join you on the new build once launched for sailing as well? I would love to see more Dan sailing. Absolutely. We've got to have
Definitely.
Dan and his whole family out.
Yes, definitely. Dan and his
100%.
whole family needs to come out and do some time on the boat and just,
Yeah.
be so excited.
Why not?
Can't wait to sail with our friends.
SV Trippin, just how excited are you about completing Delos 2.0, Kaz?
This excited.
As Siri would say, bigger than the whole universe.
That is how excited I am.
And
Bigger
Courtney
than the
also
universe.
asked from Trippin, where will your shakedown cruise take place?
I first want to just sail around the islands here, where I think like where we will test the system, stay on anchor for a night, take some friends out, just like do that stuff.
Yeah.
But we have been
Then-
talking Fiji.
I love Fiji too. I want to go back to Fiji.
I know.
I think Fiji is great. We could get there.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great to sail 1,1600 miles, see what happens, what doesn't. And then, if we need to
Stay
make
up
changes or adjustments, we can spend a season there. And then we're still just, a 9-10 day sail, probably less on this boat. It was 10 days on Delos.
Yeah.
Probably be a lot on Delos too, a lot less.
Yeah.
Sail back to Australia if we need to do some work or refurbish some things or figure
Yeah.
some other stuff out. I don't know. Okay, Rick is asking, beyond a shakedown cruise, what are your plans for cruising? Starting another lap or something different?
I think we just, like we said, I think we're gonna start just by going to Fiji maybe, unless our plans change like they do.
But after the shakedown.
But after the shakedown cruise, I don't know, we kind of toying around with the idea to maybe go north, like towards Japan, and then like maybe Alaska.
Yeah, like a North Pacific loop.
Yeah, maybe
Up
something
through Asia.
like that.
Alaska, Inside Passage,
Yeah.
something like that. Figure it out. Be a perfect boat for it. Kind of ties into the next question. Lisa and Jim Mays, are you planning to go to Norway and Iceland?
I don't know. I
I mean,
think
we're kind of in the wrong ocean right
Yeah, I think that's pretty far away for us, but I
mean-
think we end up there maybe sometime, but like also, I love hot weather cruising.
Yes.
Like that's my favorite, like beaches and stuff, so.
Maybe like
Yeah.
80% tropical sailing, 20%
Yeah,
lower latitudes, or maybe
something like
85,
that.
15, I don't know. I mean, we are building an insulated boat, which is
Yeah.
good for the tropics because you can keep the boat a more consistent temperature, but it's also good for the northern latitudes because
Yeah.
we're a fully insulated boat. We're gonna have a kick-ass heating system, so definitely possible. We just gotta get to the Atlantic to go to Norway or Iceland or Sweden. It would be amazing to cruise
It
around
would be
Sweden,
cool.
right?
It would be cool.
Yeah. Will you do testing up on the blocks, hooking up the cooling water before getting rigging or docked at the marina? Is Epera Creek too brackish? I can't wait for the shakedown cruise. Yeah, so one of the things that we're doing a lot differently than some other builds is we're testing as we go. So a great example is we just installed the hot water heater and the freshwater pump and did a bunch of the freshwater plumbing inside the boat. We didn't just put it all together and then move on to the next project. We put it all together. We turned on the pump, we temporarily hooked up a power source even though none of the wiring is in. We pressure tested the entire system. We found a defective valve, like just off the shelf, it leaked. No fault of ours, just a bad thing. Bought a new one, slapped it in. It's been holding pressure for like a week now, no leaks. So
Yeah.
I think we're gonna do that throughout things, like we're gonna run the diesel engine, like with water right here in the shed. We're going to be testing the electrical system. I'm going to be testing the instruments. Like everything is going to be tested kind of as we go instead of waiting to the end and then having a bunch of issues that we then need to sort out. So,
Yep.
yep.
Cool.
Propulsion system. Ray Norman says, what will the propulsion controls look like? You have 3 modes: port diesel, forward and reverse, starboard electric, forward and reverse. I believe I saw a dual electric controller in a box somewhere. Docking on electric is a given, true. Sea trials maneuvering with simulated failure modes is going to be amusing. Yes, so the propulsion controls, there will be a standard one for the diesel. It'll be a pretty standard Vetus, forward, engage, throttle, push forward, reverse, engage, reverse, more throttle the further you pull it back. So that one to control that. And then there will be the twin small electric controllers for each motor. When we're docking, we'll probably definitely be using just the electric motors in forward and reverse. And if we're going long distance motoring, we'll just engage that diesel and go for it. McCormick asks, is it possible to install an instrument that measures stray current in order to identify it before it does any damage? Yes, it is. I can't remember what the name of it is now, but it basically measures the potential difference between the hull and the surrounding seawater, if I'm correct. And in some cases, it just gives you like a light indicator on if it's detecting stray currents. In other cases, I think it can actually give you a value.
A value. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
What are you going to, Lowell also asks, what are you going to cover the aluminum decks with to keep from burning your feet?
I'm toying with just like a plastic teak-looking decking, or a cork mixture, like 50% cork and 50% plastic. I like the cork, but I need to do a little bit more research. So if anybody out there have any knowledge in this, please let me know, because I'm actually right in the midst of doing that right now. So if anybody has like a cork mixture decking, 50%, like I said, plastic and 50% cork, let me know if you like it or not. Yeah.
Yeah. So believe it or not, that was just a few of the more than 70 questions that we got when we asked our amazing patrons to send us Ask Me Anything questions. If you would like to see all of the questions and the entire video that we recorded, head on over to patreon.com/svdelos, where you can check that out and many, many, many more things. I just tied that around the line. That we can send over to the starboard hull. Where was I going with that? I totally lost my train of thought.